What is it, darling? What do you want?
Oh, I just love the movies. I'm fiending for cinema.
Hey guys, welcome to Feeding for Cinema. I'm AJ. This is Harrison. Wait. What if the entity wanted me to do that? Maybe he wanted me to come back and do a review on this movie. Maybe he wanted you guys to come back to Feeding for Cinema. We're in the entity's reality now. We've fallen right into its trap.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're here to talk about Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. And we have some thoughts.
We do have some thoughts. We definitely have some thoughts on this movie.
I think I'll start it off with Tom Cruise. You legitimately are incredible. Like, you are truly one of the all-time greats. I really do admire how much you love the craft, and it really comes across on the screen. I think by far you are the best part of this movie. And I think we both agree the two action set pieces, the submarine and the plane scene at the end, legitimately incredible. Like, truly probably some of the best stuff I've seen in the past 2 years on a movie screen.
And some of the best just from the franchise in general.
Definitely. But that 2 hours that is intertwined in it,
Nonsense.
I felt like that was a lobotomy of a movie. Like,
Yeah.
my mind was numbed after I watched it. I couldn't believe.
And it dragged you in for like a little bit here and there. You know, there are moments of this movie, and we'll talk about it, that were good and enjoyable. But I just think overall, this is just a shell of what Mission Impossible should be.
Yeah, I can get into the cast. I'm sure you know most of it. We have Tom Cruise, Captain Carter, Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg. I love Simon Pegg, dude.
Yeah.
He's so underrated. Isai Morales as Gabriel. I don't think it was his fault.
No. I don't think
Yeah.
anything in this movie is any of the actors' fault.
But yeah, I'm sorry, Mr.
Palm
Morales.
Clementiev.
Yeah, Palm. Yeah, Mantis. Henry Czerny. That was a Kittredge. That was the
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And then Holt McCallany, Nick Offerman, Tremel Tillman. I love Severance.
Yeah.
Saved the movie.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts
Mr.
of this film.
Milkshake. Angela Bassett as Madam President. And Shea Wiggum as Briggs. I just want to shout out him. He has the funniest death in movie history in Kong Skull Island when he takes the grenade out and he's like, "Come at me, you bastard!" And then he gets the tail of like the dinosaur or whatever, throws him in the wall, then the grenade explodes. If you haven't seen that, just search up Kong Skull Island funny death. I guarantee you it'll be the first thing to pop up. But shout out him. I think that's a that just needs to be acknowledged.
Right.
I couldn't let that go unnoticed. Where do we even begin though with this?
I think where we begin most things, Harrison, at the beginning. That's I
That sounded like dialogue from the movie, dude. That sounded like dialogue from the movie, dude.
Oh man, I just this from the get-go we get that little, and it's been an iconic part of the franchise for so long, where like we open the movie with the message, should you choose to accept. I wouldn't accept that message. It was long-winded. It was the flashbacks, and then the like we start like getting all these like crazy cuts of, oh, this is what's going on now. The entity is taken over. The entity is this. It's that. It's tricked everyone. Everyone is now believing the entity. It's changed the internet. And if the whole like editing like feeds and like messing with people's minds through misinformation was like, if that was like more consistent in the film, like that we saw that consistently happening over and over and over again, where people are like seeing videos that aren't real and it's actually tricking them, but we really don't see that again. Like we don't see any like true like misinformation from the entity. It's always like this assumed thing where like, oh, the entity has tricked us. That's the rest of the movie. But like we don't actually ever see what it's doing to make people think this. The entity is supposed to be the villain of this film, or the main antagonist, but I mean, it's just talked about. We see it once in the middle of the movie, and that's an actual Speaking of cool sequences, is one of the cooler sequences of the movie.
Yeah.
But like, it was so weird to see an antagonist that's completely in the background for the entire film, and like just didn't feel menacing. And I think that I was like, it had a little bit more substance to it in Dead Reckoning.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I just like,
definitely.
I know
But Dead
I said I was gonna
Reckoning's
start at the
still-
beginning, but like this movie, it's like, it might be my biggest problem is just like the entity stuff just does not hit home or pay off or anything. I just don't care. I don't care at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get that we're supposed to be going to like DEFCON 1 and world ending and it's high stakes, but it just never really felt like that to me. I
100% agree.
I think that first scene kind of just set the tone for the movie, where I was just like, there's just too much going on. They're over explaining everything. And it just like, the action sequences are great. I can't imagine how good they would be if they actually like, if I cared about why they were doing what they were doing, which I did not.
Yeah, I honestly, the worst offense AI has done, it's not the crappy artificial images you see on Instagram,
Right.
or the fake art, or ChatGPT creating, robotic essays. It's just existing so that the writers thought this was a believable and okay excuse for a
Right.
villain, because they totally take the concept of it's AI and they're just like, AI can do anything, and you know that, so that's why this is okay that it's
Right.
happening. And I oh my gosh, it just yeah, if you wanted to destroy your liver in 3 hours, I'm not advising it, but like take a shot every time you hear someone say the entity.
Yeah,
You're
you're blacking
actually-
out by the end of the movie.
You're not
It
making
actually
out.
that might be a good thing. That actually might be a good thing, as long as you stay like aware through the plane scene at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. At that point, I mean, you don't really need to remember much else.
Yeah, and like it was the joke of the intro, but like legit, I couldn't even count on my two hands how many scenes there are where it's like literally an American talking to like a Russian captain of their militia, saying, the entity wants us to hate each other. We have to work together when they're on their land. Like they're in times of war right now.
Right.
Like that, they legit wrote that and thought it was okay to have that as a viable.
Yeah, I don't know. Even the scene, like when they're going through the planet, it's like, but maybe the entity wants you to do that, and it's like the whole thing of like they just second guess themselves. But we never see anything from this so-called antagonist that makes me like understand where they're coming from, other than the fact that they're just like, it has a plan. I just
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that which I didn't see this from the first one. It's the same writing crew. I don't really understand, but I think that the script was incredibly weak. Incredibly weak. Some of the dialogue in this film feels incredibly cut rate. It feels like what I would expect from a different franchise this late on.
I hate that I'm saying this, but I wish I pulled out my phone and typed some of the lines I heard, because I wish I had examples to give to y'all. But it's I don't know. I want to get into some more positives, because it sounds like we hated this movie, which we did. But the stuff that really works. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I am legit. I would rather watch paint dry than watch this movie. But whenever they get to the submarine and you hear like the Revenge of the Sith opera background music, the whole, and he's submerging, and you can tell it's all real. It's fully expanded in IMAX. I turned into a little 5-year-old.
Right.
Like I mean, dude, oh my god, how's he gonna get out of there? Like
I mean,
I was
The sound
hooked.
design on like the lurching off the cliff of the submarine, you can hear it, and it's just like
I was
it's such like
locked
an
in.
uneasy sound. And then
Locked
like visually, they make these like they made those submarines, especially like even the scene like where he jumps out the original submarine, and like we finally get like our first actual Mission Impossible shot of the entire movie of him like hanging off the side of that submarine and then narrowly missing like the blades.
yeah.
Like I was like yes, and then the sinking down, and then like I think they made you feel the size, like the just the ginormity. I don't even know if that's a word.
And we're gonna
of, like,
run
the
with it.
subs.
Honestly,
We're
the
just
writers
you
gonna
could
come up with
feel
anything
like
better.
the presence of like I don't know. It was just that sequence was phenomenal. Like truly,
It
like
was.
as much as like I am trashing this movie, and I enjoyed the plane sequence at the end as well. It was a great.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that in a bit.
If we
but
talk
like,
about
but
both
like
of
if
these
we're
back to back,
yeah,
we're
but like
gonna have
we're
nothing else.
but like we're talking about like I do think the submarine part was for me the coolest part of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you know, and we got Mr. Milchick from Severance,
love
and
it.
I just dude, he was awesome.
Yeah.
the poke the bear line was probably the best line.
we watched
in this movie.
We watched this movie opening night Friday IMAX showing, and there were crickets, and one of the loudest audience reactions was me going, "Mr. Milkshake," was Severance. If you haven't watched Severance, legit and incredible show.
Yeah.
I wish we were talking about that. Honestly,
yeah, I would. That's probably a more enjoyable time.
Um,
I need to finish it because I'm a bum.
Yeah, it's so
but,
good. But yeah, the sub scene. It's when you watch it, you're reminded of how you're supposed to feel watching these movies.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I am like gripped, and I'm like, oh my god! Like you're holding your breath, and it was really interactive. Really, like I actually felt something during that, and the whole it truly was great. It's honestly insane that it's a part of this movie because for 15 minutes you forget what you had just watched, and I legit looked at AJ and I was like, please, like finish strong, because if it does, I might like this movie. But then it goes right back to what the first hour was, just
yeah.
lazy writing and laughable excuses. And I think the editing, I want to get into that. It was difficult to understand what was going on in certain scenes. There were so many flashbacks in the beginning. I couldn't tell what was current, what was from Rogue Nation or Fallout. I don't know if you knew this, but I need to find his name so I can fully make the joke hit.
But you know, I mean, even like some like the transitions, which to be fair, they started with these way back in the day. Like it's not like these are new to the series. Like this is stuff that we definitely kind of saw these kind of transitions in the earlier movies. But it just can't help in 2025 to see it in a movie like this, where like you see like center frame, you have like Ethan is like, it's like his face is center frame and it slowly fades, and then he fades back in the side and he's standing. It just feels like a what's that guy's name? Fabio? Do you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? The dude with the long hair. It feels like something I would see him in, like a commercial. Like that's what it felt like. And he's like out on the grass, like out looking over everything. I don't
know how many middle-aged moms we have that are going to watch this, but they will definitely love that reference.
Yeah.
William
Nice little Fabio reference,
William
everybody.
Donlow. He was the
Oh,
tech
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but he's actually the guy that picked up the knife from Mission Impossible 1 whenever Tom Cruise drops down the wire, the iconic scene where he almost hits the ground. They show that flashback twice, and both times, maybe not the first time. The first time was like, okay,
That's who that's supposed to
they're
be.
connecting.
I get
but
it.
it's like, and that's just one example. They did it with practically everything. I think one of the best, not best, it's worse, but it made me laugh, dialogue scenes is just all of the president and the colonels and officers. They legit are just like,
That was you.
Let's go down a list of everything that Ethan Hunt has done in this franchise. First, you entered in the Burj Khalifa and you ran away from Dust of Wind, and then of course they
And they
show the
the scene,
flashback.
right?
Then you broke into the Russian intelligence system disguised as can't remember as Kittredge, and then they cut to him, you know, boiling inside.
It's almost like this movie was written to like as like a way to explain what Mission Impossible movies
was.
are. And like it was like, dude, this is the what, the 8th movie, right? Like we've been here. We're seated for it. You don't got to let us know what these movies are because like it takes away from what this movie is.
And it's like
we've seen it.
That whole scene that I was just talking about was literally just them to explain why the CIA, or I don't even know what branch that was, but why they hate Ethan Hunt. And it's like, I've watched 7 movies of him
exactly
breaking in.
like it, right?
Like I know why. And I think a big overall theme of why this movie didn't work for both of us is it just jumped the shark. The franchise was ramping up in a really great way. The stunts were getting more creative, and the story was getting a bit more convoluted. Not in a bad way, though. When it comes to this, though, it was almost like, what do we do to top it? And they thought being modern with the AI aspect was a good idea. Like, dude, I would have taken multiverse for some unexplainable reason in this over AI.
You'd rather see another half-assed multiverse movie?
Yeah. It was trying to do way too much, and I think this franchise really is at its best when it stays as grounded as a Mission Impossible movie can be, but also self-contained. I mean, of course, there are going to be callbacks to the previous movies, but I think one of the strengths is you could almost always jump on at any of the movies, know the characters, know their motivations, how they act, and get a satisfying ending and not be like, well, why was he there?
Like I don't need to know that kind of stuff to enjoy these movies.
A lot of things.
I think talking about some of the good stuff, because like I know you had wanted to mention him, like the floating up scene.
Him floating up, like this is the ice. Him floating up, spazzes out a bit.
Yeah.
Then he gets to the top.
Fiends a little bit.
Yeah, fiends a bit. The camera rotates, and then it looks like he's laying on a giant cloud.
Yeah, it would just...
And it's the full screen. Legitimately, one of the best shots I think I've ever seen on an IMAX screen, at least.
Right.
I'll say that. Yeah. I'm confident in that. And then it segues to the wife, our thankful comedic
the
relief,
resuscitating habitat. Was she laying in that thing with him, in that little capsule with him the whole time? Like they were just like a tiny little capsule together. Is that what was going on?
I don't know. It's like I was saying all that beautiful stuff, and then I remember what follows it. And I'm like, oh yeah, and then we're back to reality.
But like there are good moments. Like speaking of capsules, like they have that, like when Ethan goes in and he puts that mask on. Like the visuals in that scene were some of the coolest visuals in the entire film. You know what I mean? And like it was it was also one of the more intense parts of the film. Yeah, it's a little strange, but like I actually thought it was really cool. And it was like it's the only time in the movie where the entity felt like any kind of real threat or any kind of danger.
When it wouldn't let him out.
When it wouldn't let him out. I was like okay, but like we didn't get anything else like that the entire movie.
It was pretty great. I'm a Tom Cruise fan.
Yeah,
but he definitely. I didn't think he was acting. I thought he legit was recreating how he felt like after the first Scientology meeting. Like he jumps out and he's like, I can't get out. You guys gotta leave. I gotta go to this place. I gotta go now. And like bloodshot eyes, just like insane, dude. Like we were joking after we saw it, you know, because like one of the best things is to bond over trauma after you endure 3 hours of that. I say that. There were 2 awesome set pieces, but it really was a down
incredibly
experience.
Long 3 hours.
Also, side note, I think we have to add, it's only fair, we watched this movie in an IMAX theater where legit the ticket kiosk was like, just letting you know, it's really hot in there. If you guys want a refund, we totally understand.
And the first like hour or so was fine, and then about halfway through, you got that like sauna feeling, you know, where you're like, "Oh, I'm sweating, but I don't necessarily like feel super hot," and you're like, "Oh no, this is about to get really bad." And by the end, you're like, "Okay, we gotta get out of this theater."
But what I was gonna get at is like we were joking after the movie. I can only imagine Tom Cruise walking up to the producers, giving them the first runtime, and he's like, yeah, so we got this movie at a calm 3 hours and 30 minutes. But we think with like a couple of work cuts together, we can get it at a flat 2 hours and 50 minutes, real smooth, real tight. And it'll just run perfectly. And I'm sure those director heads are like, dude, like who's gonna want to sit? Because I mean, by the end, when we realized it was still going on, I legit had leaned my head back and like give me
we were like maybe an hour and a half in, and Harrison was like, I'm not gonna check my phone because I don't want to know what time it is. And I was like, dude, we're halfway through the movie, and he's like, there's no way, there's no way. But you know, for what this movie was, the runtime was pretty brutal. I have to say, and I don't know for any of our studio fans out there, I could only imagine Seth Rogen's character having to try to tell Cruise,
are we gonna cut this down?
Yeah, like we got to cut this movie down. And he'd be like, I can't talk to Tom like that. I don't want Tom not to like me. Like,
can we acknowledge that Seth Rogen voice? I just like that was not Seth Rogen. That was like Tracy Morgan on like helium, dude.
Right.
I don't know.
Or
I'm sorry,
Tracy
about that.
Morgan with a bad cough, maybe. You know, at the end of the day,
I'm never doing Seth Rogen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just like the back half of the probably the third act of this movie. It's for the most part enjoyable because it's intertwined with this great little sequence behind us. You know, because it is like cutting in and out, and it's even though like the sequence itself, we only maybe get 15 minutes of action up there, maybe. But like that takes place over probably the last 40 minutes of the movie, 30 minutes of the movie. So it's kind of intertwined with other stuff.
I mean, it is great though, and Gabriel does have one of the best deaths I will say in a while. Like I really did, love that.
We saw Final Destination last week, and that very much felt like a Final Destination death. Like,
but it's also,
I'm gonna live, and then just
great segue. I would have never thought I would, with full belief in every fiber being of my body, say that Final Destination Bloodlines is a much better movie than Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, the conclusion of one of the best action franchises ever. I would have never ever predicted that, but I fully believe it on like.
Yeah, but I will say, just Final Destination just doesn't have Tom Cruise crawling on a plane upside down up in the air.
Yeah, it also doesn't bore me for 2 hours though.
Yeah,
like,
that is fair. Also, I know it's not his fault, but maybe they could have gone with a shorter haircut. I think like when the wind was up there on him, it looked like a straight bowl cut.
Yeah.
He was looking corny up on that plane.
Yeah.
Dude. He was looking so corny because like his hair just flattened around him and he had a bowl cut. And I was like, ugh, Tom,
dude,
that is the least flattering thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it was pretty great because like it showed how real it is too, but it's also like, man, his like lips flying back.
Maybe we could have gone with a buzz or something. I don't know because that looked insane.
Yeah.
Oh, but like the plane sequence was so cool. Like even like these cooler like classic more like analog planes was really really cool to see in these.
It gave off
sets.
like a little James Bond vibe, and I almost wonder if it was I kind of thought it might have, because isn't Mission Impossible like a historic franchise? Like there's like in the 60s or 70s or I don't know. I've heard people say that. I'm assuming.
I have no idea. I think so. I do think that there's an older franchise.
I think that was a tie.
Mission Impossible.
I think that was a tie to I don't know, the roots. I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm trying to give it.
Yeah, we're
trying to give it more credit
find
than
reasons
it deserves.
to enjoy this movie. But you know, I think at the end of this sequence, you know, where you have Cruise falling, and of course it all comes down to like a 3-second timer because it's an action movie. We all know that they're gonna happen on one. But like, you know, so you know what's gonna happen, that you know he's gonna press the button or whatever. But there's that moment like where, and it wouldn't have. I think, you know, it definitely wouldn't have fit in this movie because what was going on around it wasn't good enough to make this actually. Again, I think I've probably said this a couple times, but payoffs. There are not a lot of payoffs in this movie. But when his parachute went up in flames and he's flailing with the disc, and you know, you had said that he had that safety chute. I hadn't seen that, but like I'm watching that, and like he saves the day, and it's just like in a better movie. what a way to send him off, you know?
Yeah, but it's also I agree with that, but I'm not a fan of the movie, so I almost would have hated for.
Oh yeah,
him
in
to
this
go out
movie,
that
I don't
way.
think it fits at
Yeah.
all because it's just
But I totally agree with
it's
what
paying
you're
off
getting
nothing.
at.
So
Yeah.
like,
uh-huh.
it wouldn't have hit at all. But I just like, or even that Luther monologue at the end,
Yeah.
which just again, speaking of things that just don't pay off. Like I did enjoy Luther's death. We didn't really talk about that. Like I do think that was like hitting some more emotional strings, and
Yeah,
even though there was a lot of talking for a bomb that was counting down.
yeah, they also kind of tried to do you could tell that they thought they cooked a lot more than they did.
Yeah,
Towards
yeah,
the end,
yeah.
they were
They're
like,
like,
oh
"Oh,
yeah,
dude,
wasn't
look at
that
this."
gripping what
Yeah.
you just watched? Like now we're gonna end it off with monologues.
Yeah, an
and everyone
emotional
going their separate
monologue to
ways,
send
and
it
I'm just
off.
like, oh, please get it over. Like I'm already looking down the barrel of the chamber. Just pull the
Yeah.
trigger at this point, dude. Like,
But then the scene, where Tom gets up and the guy comes up to him, he's got the gun, and you're like, oh, is he gonna shoot him? Even though he's obviously not gonna shoot him.
or you want to recreate it right now?
Yeah.
This honestly was one of the funniest things I have seen in movies in a good while. I'm gonna be Briggs. You be Tom Cruise. Okay.
Okay.
One, two, three, four. This is IMAX, by the way. This is all up close IMAX.
Macho. It was great. It was I don't know. Again, it was just something that like we watched it. We were like, well, what is this? Like, what are we watching right now? Why do
I really just watched a full upscreen IMAX shot of a dap up that legit took about 10 seconds.
Yeah. It tried to, if
This
you
is
did
a
that shit,
2
if
hour
you
and
did what they
49-minute
did,
movie.
if you did what they did to any other human being, they would go, what is wrong with you? What are you doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Stop, let go of my hand.
Especially someone that
Hates you?
where Tom Cruise killed his dad.
Right. Right. And like at the beginning of the movie when they're like, he's like, oh, we'll have our. Did he say reckoning? I can't
Oh, he
remember.
did.
Oh,
Oh,
Gabriel did though. Oh my gosh,
It's
he did
your
the
final
thing.
reckoning,
Yeah,
Ethan.
dude. Like, oh my god. And you want to follow like
He said it.
I had seen another review saying that like this movie had avoided a lot of 2010s tropes. And they had said that this movie drowns in them, and I thought that was probably a little bit of an extreme
were you
reaction.
watching?
But when Gabriel was looking, when he looked at him and he goes, like, "This is your final reckoning," I was like, "There's no way." He did not just. What are we doing? Like, how much do we have to make fun of this on social media before like writers realize that like, oh, they don't like that. Like,
Dude, our minds were
we're
like,
not like, oh, he said the title. Like, what are we doing? Oh my
dude,
gosh.
that was awesome when you just said the
Yeah,
title.
dude, did you get that? Like,
Dude. So many times our minds were like interlinked where we would just look over at each other and just go, like, no words,
Yeah,
just
oh.
some of the things we heard people say. And we're not giving it the justice it deserves. Like,
no.
it truly, it's just, experiencing this movie is way more brutal and way less enjoyable. Honestly, my biggest negative about this movie is I have to say it sucks. Like,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I so fully wanted to really enjoy this movie, but I don't know. The final shot was awesome. The final shot of Ethan walking into the crowd of people, I at least, even though very disappointed, the final shot was pretty cool. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I think just like overall kind of thoughts, it felt like the framework for a giant blockbuster, but what filled it in just wasn't. It's filled with great moments. You get to see Tom Cruise do his thing, but just overall, this movie fails to make you care.
if this movie was an hour and 30 minutes, it would have ripped. It would have been like actually incredible because those two set pieces are so good. If they just could have had a subpar movie in the middle of it, that's what I honestly was expecting and wanted.
I think the flip side of that is that like if this movie was called Against All Odds and it starred like Chris Pratt or like Jared Leto or Chris Evans.
No.
You'd be like, that movie
The
was
fake title would be For the People We Never Meet.
right. Or, you know, like I just like everyone would be dogging on this movie. I think it is going to get some love because of what it is and the name recognition. But
and Tom Cruise, you are incredible.
Yes,
It's like the meme of the guy holding the gun and tears down his eyes. Like that's how I feel saying all of this. Like,
but I
know this isn't your fault.
Yeah.
Like, this is not.
We hope that in the future we're a little bit more excited about some of the films we're talking about. But you know, maybe you guys were excited about this one. Please let us know if you disagree, if you agree. Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, come back. We will keep doing this. Yes,
we would love to get some more positive feedback because I think we were very more negative on it than other people. But then again, that might be what the entity wants you to do. So
something to think about.
Think about it.
Just remember, it's the entity's reality. Thank you, guys.
Awful.